Welcome to Caregiver Cast. My name is Mary Elaine Petrucci. I'm your host. My guest speaker today is Dr. Danielle Duperret, who is going to talk to us about stress reduction for caregivers. Amazing topic. Before I formally introduce Dr. Duperret, I'm just going to give you some background information about her. Dr. Danielle Duperret was born and raised in the French-speaking part of Switzerland. Fascinated by the workings of the brain and the mind, she studied psychology and parapsychology with an institute in Paris, as well as nutrition to help her recover from skin cancer, which necessitated surgeries every 6 months. She traveled through Europe, the Middle East, and parts of Asia before coming to the US in 1979. Bedridden for weeks in her late 30s, she studied neuropathy and earned her ND degree, Doctor of Naturopathy, as well as a PhD in interactive guided imagery, hypnosis, biofeedback, and protocols for psycho-legal trauma. She has authored several courses online. She has authored several courses, online programs, and ebooks. She offers classes, workshops, as well as group and private consultations. She's the mother of 7 home birth and homeschool children who are healthy, grown, and independent. She keeps studying and loves to travel, dance, kayak, and garden. Welcome to Caregiver Cast.
Well, thank you. Thank you so much for having me.
Most definitely. I know when we were talking, we were really trying to figure out how to best reduce stress, the overwhelm, and the burnout with caregivers. So could you give us some idea of how maybe energy psychology could help us in that regard?
So energy psychology, also called the tapping techniques, emotional freedom, has helped me a lot through all kind of trials and tribulation I went through. And I felt some burnout too, homeschooling 7 children. I had 5 teenagers at a time. And so I put what I learned in practice. Amazingly, energy psychology is one type of psychology that has been studied the most. There is some like over 100 different kinds of psychology, and it's one of the top 10 that has been studied and can prove scientifically that it actually has incredible results for burnout, for stress, for depression, for PTSD. It's very helpful. And it consists of tapping on several meridian points, acupuncture points, with the tip of one's finger to kind of calm down the energy system and release the stress.
Okay. Well, thank you for that. It must, so were you able to use some of this tapping when you were going through your recovery with your skin cancer every 6 months? It seems like that would have been a
That
challenge.
would have been great. It didn't exist at the time. I was 15 when I was diagnosed with skin cancer.
Oh my
And
God.
so every 6 months, I had another spot that they had to dig and it would come back. So they had to dig deeper. And I was studying psychology. I was fortunate to meet a psychologist, a psychoanalyst, who took me under his wing and opened doors for me. So I was studying with an institute in Paris. And the guy who had started the institute was in incredible shape. He was in his 60s. And he also wrote some books on nutrition and cleansing and detox. So at 18, I bought my first juicer, started to juice and to cleanse, and never went back to the surgeon for the skin cancer. It was an easy thing for me because my problem was just detoxing. I had gotten a lot of vaccination. I still had the disease that the vaccinations were supposed to prevent. I grew up on antibiotics, and we didn't know much about nutrition at the time. So I had accumulated a lot of toxins, and I believe that's what was coming out as skin cancer. Cancer is a very, very tricky thing. I was working with a medical doctor whose wife had cancer,
Mm-hmm.
And she knew about nutrition. She knew a lot about different things. But as he said, there is like 17 different things that can cause cancer. You're going to stay alive until you've dealt with it. Because there is also the emotional aspect. I had one of my students who was diagnosed with cancer,
Mm,
and he was doing all the right thing nutrition wise, but he refused to deal with the emotions. Unfortunately, he died. He knew about the emotional aspect. He didn't want to deal with it. Although when you use energy psychology, you don't have to relive the horrid stuff that may have happened in your life.
um, that sounds amazing. That you were able to heal yourself through detox. And I suppose you're saying that working with this psychologist in France helped you with your mindset using.
Started with my mindset, but I already, cancer, what's also important with cancer is to have goals. And I had goals. I knew what I was going to do, and the cancer was not going to stop me. So I had to detox. But for many people, there is a lot to do. And working with oncologist, medical doctor, and added imagery and the tapping techniques can be very useful. Now, the tapping techniques helped me a lot. I was unfortunately in a very abusive relationship, marriage, and I got very sick in my 30s. And the tapping techniques, that's when they came in to help me recover, change my mindset, and get out of that relationship.
Mm, sounds like you've been through a lot, Dr. Dupre. Thank you so much for sharing your past with us, your health challenges, and how you overcame them. So, can you give us an idea of how someone can give care or overcare for someone without taking care of ourselves? Or how can we better do our caregiving, I guess I should say, by taking care of ourselves?
Yeah, I think it's important to take care of other people, but not at the detriment of our own health. And unfortunately, a lot of people who go into caregiving just keep giving and giving and giving, and eventually they burn out.
Hmm.
And it is difficult to say no when somebody calls you and say, "Oh, just come or talk to me or do this and do that."
Hmm.
And yet eventually we burn out and we will not be good for anybody. So there has to be some boundaries, and that's difficult for caregiver to set up.
Hmm.
And yet it's important. Throughout the day I would do some of the tapping or some breathing and take some time off. It is so important for caregivers. Eat a nutritious food that are high in nutrients and low in calories. Yeah, sugar might pick you up very quickly, but you probably know sugar's gonna just dump you in a little bit. And then not only do you have to take care of the fatigue of being a caregiver, but also your body is fatigued because of the food you have eaten. So to take care of yourself, you eat well, you release the stress with different techniques,
Okay.
you master your emotions, and you set boundaries.
I think that's a really good point, especially with the boundaries. I think that's really important. So, in addition to like the nutrition, um, and specific ways that we may stop before we get to burnout, how can we, what else can we do to mitigate like the stress level of caregiving?
There is all kind of different techniques, mindset. You talked about mindset before,
Hmm.
that can help us. There is only so much you can do. The other person is also responsible for responding. You have to realize you
Hmm.
do your part, the other person has to do their part too. And you cannot take their burden on you to make them feel better.
No, that's a really good point. You can't really take on, well, you can, I guess in theory, take on somebody else's burden, but when you do that, you're really depleting yourself.
And then you're not helping the other person either. Because, just as children, they have to learn to take responsibility.
Mm-hmm.
And when I was raising my children, I found a great book was called Raising Children with Love and Logic.
Okay.
And was so good. Yes, you have to love, but there are some boundaries that they should not cross. And you have to help them discover these boundaries. Long time ago, I had a client, he was 600 pounds and he wanted to lose weight. So I had set
Mhm.
up, we were doing some tapping techniques, some imagery, and set up a menu. And then I would see him the next week and he would tell me, well, I read in the newspaper I should eat wheat muffins. That's good for me. And he ate wheat muffins for his 600 pounds. And he was not supposed to eat any grain at this time. There is nothing I could do. I could not take, well, his burden would have been awfully heavy on me.
Right. Oh, yes, I can see that.
So the person has to do their part. It's
Mhm.
like people who want to quit smoking, they want to go to a hypnotist or hypnotherapist and say, make me quit smoking, but I don't want to give up the cigarettes. It's not going to work.
No, it's not. Yeah, I
And
agree.
unfortunately, in caregiving, we don't realize, we've not been taught that the person also has to do their part.
You're right. I think it's hard sometimes when the person that you're caring for oversteps those bounds and also makes incredible demands on that you do something to make them feel better. And if not, they're going to make you feel just as bad as they do if they're in pain, for example. Um, yes, I think you
But
have,
I believe we trained like that. We train to blame, a sickness. When can you lose? Okay, I grew up in Switzerland, but when can you miss school? When you're not feeling good.
right.
Okay, so that's a good excuse. I don't feel good. I'm not going to go to school. I'm not prepared for that test. I have a headache. Somebody asks you to go to a party that you don't want to go,
Hmm.
you're not going to tell them your party sucks. Say, oh, I have a tummy ache. I can't do anything. And we've been taught to go to the doctor because the doctor will help.
Hmm.
And take this pill, take that pill, but there is a point where the pill's not going to work. And the caregiver learning to do different techniques, strategies can also teach, like the tapping technique, very easy, can teach that for pain relief to
Mm.
their patient, to their clients, and do it for them also.
I think that really makes so much sense and really hits home, I think, to the major part of the problem is either the person, the caregiver, is caring for someone that they never had a really good relationship with, or they just run themselves to the point of burnout. Um, because you're, even for me, even without doing necessarily direct caregiving, I still thought about it 24/7 because I wanted to make sure my parents
Mhm.
safe and everything. So I wish I hadn't known about this energy psychology and mindset way back when I was doing it. So, how does the power of the mind really play a huge impact in getting self care?
Well, as I said, I had cancer and I was doing nutrition and detox when I was in my teens. Then, because of the situation I was living in, I became very sick. I was bedridden for weeks or even months. I can't remember. I
Mm.
was still eating well. I was still juicing. And that's when I realized my mind had to change. Juicing and, can detox, but the mind doesn't get detoxed by juicing. So that's when I learned imagery. That's when I learned the tapping techniques, because the mind is so powerful to control many things. Now, some people say it's always a mind over matter, and I don't agree with that anymore. I had pain in my legs one time, and I just lie down on my massage table and I told my legs to stop hurting. And they said, no. So what
Mm.
do you mean, no? It's mind over matter. I command you to stop hurting me. And the muscles
Mm,
responded, well, you need to take care of this problem first, then we'll stop hurting.
that's a great example. Thank you for sharing. Yes. So what happened in that situation?
Well, there was something I had to do. I knew how to overcare too, with 7 children and taking care of my household. And I had clients and I was doing too much. I had to set boundary. And
Mhm,
sometimes we get in pain or burnout, it's the body telling us, hey, do something about it.
mhm,
And we can establish a dialogue with pain, with different parts of the body. That's what interactive guided imagery is all about, is talking to that part that is hurting. Why are you hurting?
mhm,
When did the pain start? Why did it start? And especially, what can I do about it? Because the people working with interactive imagery, we believe that you know why you have the problem and you know what you can do about it. My job, if the person is a client, is to take that subconscious knowing wisdom
mhm,
and bring it to the conscious mind so you can do something about it. But you can also just ask your body and wait for the answer. Don't expect whatever answer, just listen.
mhm. Okay. I can relate to that, Dr. Dupree. I was scheduled to take this class. I didn't really want to be there. And my left thigh and my left, I guess, hip joint started hurting like the day before. So I was in pain through that whole 8-day period. And I, with help of the instructor, I came to realize exactly what you're saying, that I had to deal with a certain issue in my life, because that's why I had the pain. And I mean, I even had it for like a 2.5 weeks after that. So I can definitely testify to what you're saying, because if you don't address it, it's going to end up somewhere in your body. Um,
Yes.
exactly. So how does psychoneuroimmunology, I'm not
Yes.
saying that correctly, speech therapy here, um, how can our thoughts affect our neurology and then all of
Well,
our systems in our body?
it was discovered that our thoughts actually affect our body. So the psyche, the mind, goes onto the nervous system.
Mhm.
Uh, Psycho, you have the psycho, the mind, neuro, the neurology. And there is even a step now that they found is endocrinology. Your thoughts affect your
Oh,
neuron, affect your what did I just endocrine glands, and affect your immunology. So, let's think about what's happening in our situation right now with COVID.
mhm,
Just thinking, oh my God, this is dangerous. I'm going to get it.
mhm.
What is that going to do? That affects your neurology, your endocrine glands, and then your immunology. So
Right.
if you're so fearful, they say it's a lot of the fear. You are more likely to catch something nasty than if you are strong in your mind and you want to stay healthy, you are healthy, you're making good choices, you set boundaries, you're far less likely to fall prey. And think about it, burnout. What does a burnout tell your body? I can't go on anymore. Do something. I can't go on anymore.
Exactly.
So, hey, there is, a headache, there is a flu, there is COVID, whatever can
Mhm.
affect you so you can rest. Is that what you want? Or do you rather set boundaries before your body set them for you?
Oh, that's a great point. I love that.
As a mother, I
Mhm,
didn't have,
go
I
ahead.
could just not be sick all the time. And my kids were very seldom sick, but it did happen once in a while. They had a flu. And I could feel it coming, you feel it coming. And I would tell my body, I can't have it right now because I need to take care of my children. Let's wait a week. I'll do some cleanses.
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't have it at that time. And a week later, I didn't have it very strongly because I had been made aware and I did some cleanses. You can make kind of, what do we want to call it? Agreement with the body mind. Hey, okay, I know I'm doing too much. I'm on the verge of burnout. I don't want to be sick. I'm going to take a day off. So hold on. I don't want to be sick. Take that day off. And if you make an agreement with your mind, follow the agreement. Because if you don't, the next time your mind say, yeah, I know, you said that last time. You're going to be sick this time.
Mm. That's amazing. How
So
your
your
mind
thought
is.
will affect your immunology. That's basically what that PNER
Right.
is about, that big word. So
Uh-huh.
what thought are you thinking?
See, now that is kind of mind blowing if you think about it, that you can have this conversation with your body or your mind and negotiate
Yes, exactly.
when yeah when you're going to get ill or just to remain healthy and getting some mild symptoms of the flu or something like that. Okay, so let me see here. If so, why, I guess, haven't caregivers or the general public know about this connection? I know some of it's starting to come out now. But if you're taking care of yourself, how can you deal with the person that you're caring for who may need to have some tapping or whatever done with them, and they're still being kind of cranky and with you because you're not doing what they expect or you can't get rid of their pain or something? How would you deal with that kind of situation?
Well, I would do the tapping in my mind for them.
Mm,
We can do the tapping for animals. We can do the tapping for babies crying in an airplane. So you can imagine being the person and you don't have to do the tapping, with your fingers. You can just do it on your mind. Or you can gently do it. You don't have to do tapping either. If you're dealing with a very weak person or with a baby, you just gently touch on some point. Let them take a breath, touch on another point. Release the pain, release the pain, release the pain.
wow.
So it does
It does work. Okay.
work for animals, it does work for babies. So it's not all placebo. There is something to that energy system.
I see that. Explain how that happens if you're just thinking that for the other person.
I would,
Did I misunderstand that?
no, you're not misunderstanding. So you need to know where the points are.
Okay.
And you imagine that you are gently tapping on this specific point. Now, there's a quick 7 steps that I teach. I can show you those points. If you want, we can start on the top of the head. So
Okay.
you either tap on it or you just hold it and you think about either a pain that you may have or an emotion that's rising.
Mm,
And then some people do it in the middle of the forehead. I like to do 3 points, like on the side of my eyebrows and then like the third eye. Hold on to this.
mm,
And again, say, this pain or this weakness. Then you tap on the side of your eyes. And again, with this pain or this weakness, or hold on to it in the middle of your eyes.
mm,
It's, you have the bone right there. There is a little indent. So you either hold that or do the tapping on it.
mhm,
Now under your nose and under your lip, do some tapping there. Now where the collarbone meets the breastbone, you can tap there too.
mm,
And then you hold your wrist and you say peace.
And you say peace?
You say peace, yeah. So think about something, burnout. You may be what, tired or a pain? Think about something, and then we'll do it again a little more quickly.
Oh, now?
Yeah.
Okay. Yes.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So you have, and if you don't know, you can also think about the color. If it's pain, for instance, you can imagine it's like red. And you can say, let it go. 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 Take a deep breath. Peace.
Peace. Mm-hmm.
And see how it has shifted.
Mm-hmm.
Usually it does, notice the shift. And keep doing that. Now, if you're working with somebody who doesn't want to do it, who doesn't want you to, touch them, just imagine you doing it for them. Mind is powerful.
Yes, it is. What else in this toolkit that you're sharing with us today can help with a caregiver's resilience, confidence, and self-esteem? Because I know when you're caregiving, you always feel isolated, that you don't have someone out there to help you. You feel underappreciated, not very valued. So how can one address that using the techniques that you shared with us today?
Well, you can use again those tapping techniques, but know that you're always doing the best you can with the tool that you have at the present time. And if you can take like 90 seconds, there is another thing that you can do. Take 90 seconds off, take a deep breath, close your eyes, put a little smile on your face,
Mm-hmm.
and breathe slowly and deeply for 90 seconds. Now, there is also something I just learned from Jin Jitsu is about holding different fingers. So if you're stressed out while you do that deep breathing for 90 seconds, you want to press in the middle of your hand, stress point, and have your eyes closed, a little smile, and for 90 seconds, you can breathe slowly and hold that point. Now, if you're worrying about something,
Mm-hmm.
instead of doing the stressed out point, you can do the worry point. Hold your thumb
Wow.
for 90 seconds. That is a worry, the worry finger. Then if you're afraid of something, again, you do that 90-second breathing and you hold your index finger.
Okay.
That's for the fear. If you're angry, you hold your middle finger for the anger. Then we have grieving. That's your ring finger.
Okay.
And then well, being self-confident, that's a little finger.
Oh.
So you do those 90 seconds to 2 minutes of deep breathing, doesn't take that long.
Mm-hmm.
And you can use, the stress, the worries, I forgot the fear,
Here.
the anger, the grief, and the self-confidence.
Wow. Thank you so much. What can we, in addition to doing that, all these techniques that you're sharing, is there anything else that you can recommend?
Drink a lot of water regularly. Lots of
Okay.
water regularly.
All right. It's great advice. I don't do it. So I need to.
I don't. That's why I put, we have these apps now on our phone. I put it to ring every hour to be sure I'm drinking, because sometimes I arrive in the middle afternoon, I don't feel well, and say, oops, I did not drink today. So now I have it as an app to remind me. Those Tibetan ball, you can get an app that rings like every hour or randomly. And
Oh.
it's a beautiful sound. and it reminds you to drink. And while you drink, you also can do the breathing and hold the different fingers.
That makes a whole lot of sense. Yes, I drink tea and other things, but I know that's not the same thing.
Well, herbal tea is
Water.
okay if you don't put any sugar, but water is still the best, and good water.
And
That's
where are we
important too.
supposed to find that, Dr. Duperret?
Yeah, that's a challenge nowadays. I had two filters where I lived before that removed all the bad stuff in the water, because all those prescription drugs, they go into the sewage and they're not taking out. So we are taking birth control pills, antibiotics, and all that stuff in the water. So it's important to have a good filter to cleanse all that out.
Okay.
Not,
Well, well, I think I probably heard that, Dr. Duperret. But now that you bring it to my attention, it is pretty scary to think that you're drinking all of that. Doesn't sound very pleasant.
no, it doesn't. So a good filter is important. And
Exactly.
you don't want to worry about it either, because if you add the worry, that's going to be even worse. You do the best with what you can.
Definitely. I have to admire you for raising 7 children, working full time, and being sick yourself. I personally do not know how you did all of that.
Well, I don't know either. It was one day at a time, and then I went through it.
That's amazing. I'm sure that you wanted to have all 7, so I
No. I didn't plan on having any children. I was not going to get married. I was going to be a businesswoman traveling the world. So when I pass over to the other side, I have a few questions I'm going to ask, God, the universe, about what happened. That wasn't planned. But that's okay, because I learned so much. I would not have learned all that I have learned without having my children. So they're really a true blessing.
Well, I'm sure they are. I'm just really admire you, because I find it sometimes challenging just to manage my own life. I can't imagine doing it with 7 children. I just went to see some friends last night, and one of them just had her second child, which was news to me, but she just made it look so easy. Like, she's got this infant and this soon to be 3-year-old. And I'm like, I'm
Yeah.
sure I would be really.
There's one thing is that you get the grace to go through what you're going through. Don't get it if you're not going through it. You're not going to have the grace on how to raise 5 teenagers when you don't have one. You don't get that. But once you are in that situation, there is a lot of help from, God or whatever you want to call it. If you open to that, open your heart, and you'll get to learn how to not overcare and not to have burnout.
Well,
So you can scream, God, what did you do to me?
well, I hear that that's not really the best option. Wow, the thought of having 5 teenagers at a time is mind blowing. So what else, in your psychology background, and nutrition background, that could help minimize or
Well, have something that you enjoy doing. One of the things I do with my client is have them write 20 things that they enjoy doing.
Okay.
And it could be just, take a bubble bath with candles, have a good, something healthy that you'd like to drink, allow yourself to spend half an hour a day reading a good book, go for a walk, write down 20 things, and then write down when's the last time you did these things. And then you can put a dollar sign. How much do these things cost?
Okay.
Taking a walk doesn't cost that much. Now, if something you enjoy doing is going to Bora Bora for a month, that's something different. And then the other thing you can write on your list is, can you do it by yourself or do you need somebody to do it?
Mm.
And then do it. Commit yourself to do one thing out of those 20 things. And some people can't even think about 20 things that they enjoy doing. So some people have to work out that, what is it that I enjoy doing? What is it that makes time fly by? What is it I enjoy doing when I was a kid?
Mm-hmm. Wow.
And then allow yourself to do it. You cannot change the world. You can do your part, but if you burn out, you're not helping the world.
No, I totally understand that. Um, I really appreciate you sharing all your knowledge with us today. Can
Oh,
you
my
give,
pleasure.
well, there's so much more that I think we need to explore. Um, can you give the caregivers like 3 nuggets to take away about their stress slash burnout or overwhelm that they can do immediately
Well,
besides the ones that you showed us?
okay, well, yeah, I would say, drink water. That's one of the things. A lot of time we burn out because we are dehydrated. So that's an easy one.
Okay,
Okay.
great advice.
Again, set boundaries. If you're getting so frustrated because you're taking care of a family member or it's your job to take care of people, ask yourself, why is that person really angering, making me so angry? Is
Mm,
it something about me or is it the person pushing me too much where I have to set boundaries?
okay.
Do I really have a reason to be angry with that person? What's the reason?
Mm, wow.
And then, use some of the techniques. I said I was going to give a PDF with
Hmm.
three techniques that you can use. One of them is the fast tapping. There are 2 other techniques there. And
Okay.
you can go on my website, on YouTube, because I keep giving different tips to people. I also have a Facebook group where I try to do it once a week. I don't always do it, but give some tips and techniques on how to release stress or eat better or something that comes up to help people.
Hmm.
And of course, I can teach a class, focus especially for caregiver, or even talk to some people. And yeah, I said I give a 20-minute free consultation. So take advantage of that. It's not a sales pitch. It's truly, I want to help. Now, if I can help you with consultation or a class, yes, but usually I can help people either find a book or find a strategies to help
Okay.
them.
Wow. Well, for the listeners out there, take advantage of Dr. Duperret's 20-minute consultation. Look at her PDF with the 3 strategies that you can utilize because that will make a big difference in your caregiving journey. Dr. Duperret, thank you so much for being on today. You
Well, thank you.
you imparted so much amazing information. And thank you for sharing those tapping and hand techniques to use when we get stressed or overwhelmed. And so we could figure out why we're feeling the way we're feeling so we can do something about it.
Exactly. Yeah. Thank
Thank
you
you.
so much for having me.
Most definitely. Thank you.